everyone, it's Katherine with Free Tours by Foot. It's finally spring in New York City after a long, very cold, very snowy winter. So today we're going to take a little walk through Central Park. We're going to see some of the flowers blooming in Central Park and have a nice stroll. We have a beautiful day for it, absolutely perfect. So let's get going. So we are starting off right here on Central Park West, from the west side of the park, right across the street from the Natural History Museum. That's Theodore Roosevelt out there in front. He's a big statue of him out in front because he was pretty instrumental in getting the museum, this version of the museum, off the ground and really expanding the collection. Actually, his dad, Theodore Roosevelt Sr., was one of the original founders of the Museum of Natural History. So we're going to be taking a stroll here, kind of through the middle section of the park, mostly really to see the beautiful spring blooms, but I'll be chatting a little bit as we go as well. So first thing you're going to see is a lot of daffodils, and we're going to see these all throughout as we're going. Daffodils are kind of the first sign of spring in New York City. That's always how you can tell winter is almost finally at an end. Sometimes there's even still snow on the ground, but you start to see the little green shoots from the daffodils coming up through the snow, and that's what tells you spring is right around the corner. So the daffodils are definitely in full bloom. We're still in early spring here in New York City, so not everything is going to be completely up and blooming yet, but we will see the beginnings of spring peeking out. I'll be chatting a little bit as we're going, but mostly here to show you the beautiful scenery walking around the park. So we're heading in down the path. We're kind of making our way from the west side of the park and walking east right now. I have some more flowers over here. These are actually little white daffodils. Very pretty. And some of the trees that we're going to see are going to have little buds on them. Some of them not quite yet. It's a little early, but we'll see some beautiful blooms. You see some right up ahead, these trees with the beautiful white flowers on them. Those are starting to come up and it'll look really, really nice. More daffodils over here. I love these. They're actually one of my favorite flowers. I don't know if that's just because they usually mean the end of winter and I'm not really a winter person, but whatever it is, I think they're beautiful. They make me smile. I have some blooms on these bushes over here as well. These come up with beautiful bright yellow blooms. There's a period in the spring in New York City in Central Park where everything's very yellow. With all the daffodils, we have these right up ahead. We've got those gorgeous white flowers on the trees. So we're right here at Central Park Drive. So this is the main loop here. That's why we have people zipping by on bikes and running. Actually a lot of people out right now, especially considering it's midday on a Thursday. But people get really excited when the weather finally starts warming up in New York City. So walking just a little north, right along the side of Central Park Loop right here. So we have some green coming in over here. We have some little tiny buds on these trees, but not quite yet. But more daffodils, lots more daffodils. I think that's going to be the recurring theme as we walk around. So right over here, we're actually going to walk by, this is the Swedish Cottage Marionette Theater. I know that's like kind of a mouthful, but we call it the Swedish Cottage. It is actually from Sweden. It was brought over here in 1876 for the World's Fair that was being held in Philadelphia. And Frederick Law Olmsted, one of the designers of Central Park, thought it would make a nice addition to the park, which was just at the end of being built. So they brought it over here. Some pretty little flowers coming up here. These little purple flowers coming up right in front of the Marionette Theater. The Marionette Theater part of that name is because it is actually a working marionette theater company. And they do productions all throughout the year. Got more flowers coming up over here, but we're about to hit one of the most beautiful parts of Central Park, really no matter what time of year. And that's straight ahead. These stone steps right up here are the entrance to Shakespeare Garden. Here you can see the Shakespeare Garden sign right here. So we'll head on up into the garden. Shakespeare Garden is not something that just exists here in Central Park. There's actually Shakespeare Gardens all over the world, but this one is really beautiful. So getting a little more color variety now that we're here in Shakespeare Garden. Of course, we still have daffodils here. We've got some hyacinths, the purpley blue looking ones, giving it a little more color variety. We have some reds and some pinks. So the other thing you have in here is plaques. So part of what makes it a Shakespeare Garden is that the plants and the flowers in here are flowers that are specifically referenced in the works of Shakespeare. And so you actually have some little quotations from Shakespeare on the plaques throughout, just detailing what some of those are. But here's one. This one's referencing lilies, and we will have lilies here. It's just a little bit early for them right now, but not so early that we don't have some really beautiful flowers and some beautiful colors already. This is one of my favorite parts of Central Park. So you can see lots of buds here, some things that'll really be opening up in the next couple weeks. You got some flowers, and we're starting to get some blooms, some beautiful blooms on the tree here. This will probably be pretty full tilt in about a week, but it's already starting to look absolutely gorgeous. This is a great little walk, the one right through Shakespeare Garden. It's just so pretty and colorful and peaceful. Little sundial right over there. So still winding through. There's another plaque and some more flowers. Definitely think daffodils are the thing we have the most of right now. But like I said, little color variety here in Shakespeare Garden. Okay, a little bit of the peace and quiet is being ruined right now because there's a helicopter overhead, but it's still beautiful. So making our way out of Shakespeare Garden right now, and more stairs. If you're planning to come visit here, just so you know, there are actually routes you can take that don't involve this many stairs, but this is the prettiest. I have some pretty red flowers over there and some blossoms if you look off to the left, and we're gonna head up this way. Early. So more daffodils. You have some of the color varieties going over there. I know people always think of just like the pure yellow ones, and we do have a lot of those, but there are some that are yellow with a darker center. There are some that are white and yellow. We have a lot of the varieties here in the park. I have a robin sitting on the grass right over there, and some beautiful white blossoms on the trees. You can actually see, if you look through the trees there, you can see a little bit into the Delacorte Theater, but we'll be able to see that better when we get up here. We're heading up the steps to Belvedere Castle right now. So it might sound strange that there's a castle in the middle of Central Park. That was actually put here by the original designers of the park, Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux. So in architectural terms, they call this a folly. And all that means is it is a purely decorative building, not for any purpose whatsoever other than to look pretty. But Belvedere means beautiful view in Italian, and this is the highest point in the park. So it is a pretty spectacular view. I'll be quiet for a second and let you enjoy it. So you can see a little bit more into the Delacorte Theater right there. The Delacorte Theater is an amphitheater. That's where we do Shakespeare in the Park every summer. And Shakespeare in the Park didn't run last year in 2020, but it is actually going to open up this summer. So if you are going to make a trip to New York City, you should definitely check out Shakespeare in the Park. Here's another look at the castle.
Thank you. How are you guys? It's so nice to see you.
It wasn't really for anything in particular when they built it, but pretty shortly after, the National Weather Service actually decided it was the best place to take weather readings in New York. So they had a weather station in there for a while. Historically, if you heard like it's 72 degrees in Central Park, that's where that was coming from, was right up from Belvedere Castle. The Weather Service isn't in there anymore. They have a weather station just down that way. Oh, but we have a really nice set of blooms here, these yellow flowers right here on the side. Those are so pretty. So walking a little behind the castle now, there's a path that loops right down behind the castle, and it'll bring us out to the area we were just looking over from the castle platform. So we'll be able to see that a little bit closer. So there are some roadways that actually cut across Central Park, and usually they're really underneath where the pedestrians are, so they don't bother you too much, but you hear a little traffic noise right here because of where we are. So over here on the left though, more daffodils, and you can see this pond, and that's what you were looking at. That's the water you were looking at from Belvedere Castle. So that's called Turtle Pond. It's called Turtle Pond because there are a lot of turtles in it. There's actually several varieties of turtles. They're not even all native to this pond or to Central Park. Some of them apparently started off as people's pets that they didn't want anymore, and so they came to live in Turtle Pond. There's a squirrel right over there. So even though the turtles didn't all start off here and they weren't native to Central Park, apparently it all worked out. They all seem happy, but you'll see a lot of turtles, especially as the weather gets warmer, sunning themselves on the rocks in here. So that land on the other side of Turtle Pond is the Great Lawn, and we will see more of the Great Lawn. We'll get a little bit closer to it, but actually all of that used to be water. Turtle Pond was not Turtle Pond back then. This was actually the very start of what used to be a big reservoir that held drinking water for New York City. So all of the Great Lawn up there was actually all part of the reservoir. And eventually they didn't need it anymore. In the 1920s, they decided to fill it in and they created the Great Lawn. They left just this little strip here, and that became Turtle Pond. We have some more beautiful blooms on the trees right up here as we get towards Turtle Pond. It's a pretty short window in the spring when you catch all of this, but if you do, it is my absolute favorite time of year to come to Central Park. It's just so beautiful and it's so colorful. Not saying the winter is not nice too. Central Park is always beautiful, but there's something pretty special about seeing all of the flowers and all of the colors after things are a little less colorful in the winter time. So here's a little kind of open area where people can sit and look out over Turtle Pond. It's a really popular place for people to bring their kids, especially if they want to come visit the turtles. And you can see into the Delacorte a little bit better over there as well. They're actually, you can see building the sets right now. So Shakespeare in the Park is definitely coming back because they're sitting there building sets right now. So we're walking up here. So straight ahead is the Great Lawn. You have more beautiful flowers along the way. It's crazy. Some of these trees with the white blooms on them from far away, it almost looks like they're covered with snow like they are in the winter time. But it's just tons of beautiful flowers. So you can see the other side of Turtle Pond now, and a nice little squirrel over there in the grass. And some people setting up for a picnic right over there on the left. This is a great picnic spot, actually one of my favorite picnic spots in the park, is right here by Belvedere Castle. I'll give you a little closer look at some of these flowers just because they're so pretty. So, like I said earlier, some trees, nothing yet, but we'll get there. Everything happens at a different time. We still have a few weeks of getting to see everything coming to life in Central Park, and it's a really fun time of year. So, can definitely see people in New York get so excited when it's finally a little bit warm, and you can already see people sunbathing outside. Just so you know, it is not that warm right now. It's definitely not warm enough that I would be sunbathing outside, but we get excited by some sun after the winter. So here's the Great Lawn up here, this big open lawn. So all of this, all the way up to the tree line that you can see at the other end of the lawn, that all used to be part of the reservoir. So in the 1920s, like I said, the reservoir was decommissioned. We didn't need it anymore. And they decided they were going to fill it in. And they actually let people send in suggestions for what they thought should go here. People had some pretty crazy ideas. Some people said like a parking garage. Some people said a place to store canisters of film. I think both of those are weird suggestions. Opera House was one of the suggestions. I think that actually would have been kind of cool. But ultimately, they decided to go with just this nice big green lawn here. Place where people could come and have picnics and relax. The baseball diamonds were added a little bit later on, but you do have a lot of people that play baseball and softball here. And then also, this is a really popular spot for concerts. So if you've ever heard of like some of the really big, like legendary Central Park concerts, Simon and Garfunkel, things like that, that's the Great Lawn is where they do that. That's also where they do, the New York Philharmonic does free outdoor concerts in Central Park every summer, and that's on the Great Lawn as well. So a good place to go and get some pretty amazing concerts if that is happening when you're in town. Some more beautiful flowers over here, more people setting up a picnic. It is pretty perfect picnic weather right now. It's beautiful, it's sunny. And we have some more gorgeous blooms on the trees up ahead. That's where we're heading. I want to go check out those gorgeous cherry blossoms over there. So I don't know if you can hear it, but there is somebody playing saxophone as well. That's one of the other great things when it starts warming up a little bit in Central Park and we start to get more of the musicians performing in the park. You have some brave ones that come out in the winter and play in the dead of winter, but not nearly as many, and I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to either. But that's one of the great things about Central Park is getting to hear some of the musicians. So some more flowers over here, the little yellow flowers over there. To be honest, I have no idea what they're called. I'm guessing you've picked up on this, but not a botanist. I don't really know a lot of technical information about plants and flowers. I just really like them. So these are gorgeous. These beautiful pink blossoms. We have a lot of these in Central Park, and they are just finally starting to open up. It's always a little hard to gauge exactly when those are going to open, but we'll see more of them as we go. So this straight up ahead is Cleopatra's Needle, that obelisk that you can see through the blossoms. Oh, that looks cool. So that is officially the oldest thing in Central Park. It was originally constructed in Egypt and ended up here in New York in the 1880s, but it had originally been constructed 1450 BC, I believe, in Heliopolis. So Cleopatra's Needle maybe sounds a little ridiculous if you know your Egyptian history, because 1450 BC is way before Cleopatra. But during Cleopatra's reign, this was actually part of a matched set of obelisks. It had a twin. She had the set brought to Alexandria, and they were at the gates of a temple that she was having built. So If you're wondering what became of its twin, it is in London. If you're ever walking along the Thames River, you might spot it. So some more little flowers over here, more daffodils, of course, and these little blue flowers as well. And lots more daffodils along the sides here. So we're actually kind of looping back towards Turtle Pond right now. We'll briefly pass back by Turtle Pond, but we're going to be making our way south now to go see some more. We'll look over here to see the other side of kind of what we've already seen. You can actually see the castle still a little bit through the trees. And see this incredibly dramatic statue coming up on the left. So the man in this statue was the Grand Duke of Poland and Lithuania back in the early 1400s. So this was actually a model of a statue that was originally in Poland. This was brought here for the 1939 World's Fair. It was going to be the entrance to the Polish pavilion for the fair. And it ended up staying here because of the outbreak of World War II. And is still here in Central Park. More beautiful blooms over here. So wow, I really like this tree. I don't know why the branches are only like dramatically going to that one side, but it looks very cool. All right. So we've actually made our way almost all the way to the east side of the park now. So this is the east side of Park Loop. So more bikers, more runners, more people, a lot of people out today. Probably because the weather's so nice. And you can see more beautiful blooms over there. Actually, that building you can maybe see through the trees. That's the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So we have two amazing museums in New York City, kind of anchoring opposite ends of the park, east and west. West side, you have the Natural History Museum. East side, you have the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So, catching this little path right alongside the main Central Park Loop. When possible, if I'm not running or biking, I try to stay off of Central Park Drive just because it's so busy. If I'm just strolling around the park, kind of having a leisurely time, I try to stick to one of the side paths so I don't feel like I'm in anyone's way. All right, well, I guess they have to put their equipment somewhere. That's a little maintenance storage area for the Central Park Conservancy. You'll see the name Central Park Conservancy a lot of places in Central Park. And Central Park it's a public park. It's a city park, gets city money. This park takes a huge amount of maintenance. City's Parks Department budget is not nearly enough to cover Central Park. So actually, every year, 75 to 80% of the funding for Central Park actually comes from this private nonprofit called the Central Park Conservancy. That's been going on since the 1980s. They do a really incredible job of maintaining this park. Let me see if I can do this without scaring him away. There's a little robin. Nope, okay, well, screwed it up. Sorry. See if I can catch some more birds. We'll actually probably see a lot because we're heading into the Ramble here. So, sorry, thanks. So this part of the park, the Ramble, is really, really beautiful. And I think one of the nicest spots, if what you're looking for is just like a nice quiet walk around the park, the Ramble's a great spot for you. You can definitely see not a lot blooming here yet. You have some little tiny buds on some things, but the Ramble's definitely still waking up a little bit. Maybe we'll see a little more color as we walk through. This part of the park, though, you maybe tell a little bit even without full leaves or blooms. Oh, here's some things coming out. This part of the park is actually meant to look like a wild natural forest. So it's not supposed to look quite as groomed as some of the other parts of Central Park. Now that said, even though it's meant to look like a wild natural forest, it's not. It's completely man-made and landscaped to look this way. Oh, there's some green and some flowers starting up. And actually all of Central Park, no matter what it looks like, all of Central Park is man-made and landscaped. The design in general was supposed to look like pretty natural, very different from some of the really groomed geometric looks of some gardens and parks at the time. But Central Park was built, they started it in the 1850s. So that was a pretty unique design style at the time. But all of it's actually man-made and landscaped. There's some green, some leaves coming out on the trees. Spring is here. Another really nice spot. Actually, this is a great spot if you just want to lay on the grass and read a book by yourself and not have a lot of people around. That's sometimes a big ask in Central Park. It's a pretty popular place. But the Ramble, you could actually do that. So I'm going to cut through this way. Walk along here. Some more little flowers over here, but still, for the most part, the Ramble still looks like it's waking up a bit. But the reason I had said earlier you might see a lot more birds, or we might see a lot more birds as we're walking through together, maybe not quite at this time of year, but the Ramble is actually considered one of the best spots for bird watching in all of New York State. And I know that sounds crazy. People always think we have no nature in New York City. There's a bird. But we're on the Atlantic flyover, and so during migration season, I think they've spotted something like over 230 different kinds of birds here in the Ramble. Again, it's not something anybody would think of when they think Manhattan, but if you're a bird watcher, this is a great place to be. We have a lot of very active bird watchers in this part of the park. You'll see them coming here. Here's some pretty flowers. Oh, we have them on this side too. So yeah, you can see actually maybe here and see how quiet this really is compared to the rest of Central Park. It's all nice. Anything in Central Park is going to be great. But if you're looking for a little more solitude, the Ramble can be a good spot for that. The Ramble and the North Woods, all the way at the north end of the park. Maybe we'll see that another time. We've got some daffodils popping up over there. See, we're almost on a hiking type trail. Bet you don't think of hiking when you think about New York City. So straight ahead is the lake, which we will be seeing later on as well. So heading out of the Ramble on this little trail right over here, that's actually the side of the boathouse. So the boathouse got the name because it actually used to be a boathouse where you could rent rowboats in Central Park. Now it's just a restaurant, but very popular place to have wedding receptions in New York City. People get married in Central Park or have their wedding reception there at the boathouse. Oh, and they have some pretty blooms here as well. So officially almost out of the Ramble. Once we get out of this little dirt covered area here, we'll be out of the Ramble. And just a little bit more to see this middle section. Oh, more daffodils. I know I've said that a lot. Like I said, a lot of those at this time of year. There's one of the entrances to the boathouse. So actually the boathouse, if you go to the sit-down part of the restaurant, it's pretty fancy and a little pricey, but they have a little takeout cafe right here on the back side. And this is just like casual takeout food, and it's actually really surprisingly reasonably priced and pretty good. So if you're ever in Central Park and you need a little snack, highly recommend taking a stop at the Boathouse Takeout Cafe. Oh good, we have some gorgeous blooms up ahead, and that is where we are heading. Oh my gosh, these are so beautiful. Look at how many there are in this part of the park. So many, going both directions. We have gorgeous blooms. I'm gonna go and get a closer look at these because they're so pretty. So the area we're walking into is called the Conservatory Waters. So I guess back when they were designing the park, there was a pretty grand plan for this area. They were gonna have a big glassed-in conservatory where they would have like exotic tropical flowers, and then there was gonna be a little ornamental pond in front of it. A very fancy part of the park. And most of that didn't happen. Most of that didn't happen. The only part of it that actually happened was the little ornamental pool. So instead of being this glassed-in conservatory, this became a place where you could bring children, but it's still called the Conservatory Waters, even though there was no conservatory here. Wow, these are so pretty. I hate to say, I have absolutely no idea what kind of tree that is that produces those gorgeous white flowers, but I do love them and I think they're beautiful. Right over there, you actually have the Alice in Wonderland statue. That's a bronze statue over there, the Alice and the Mad Hatter Tea Party. Get a look here over the conservatory water. You can see the ducks, ducks in the water. Little girl feeding the ducks. So this will probably be pretty active soon. This is where you can rent little toy sailboats and sail them. So if you're a Stuart Little fan, if you remember when Stuart was in the sailboat race, that was Conservatory Waters. So you can do that. Even if you're not a child or Stuart Little, you can rent a toy sailboat here. And then right over here is a statue of Hans Christian Andersen, the fairy tale author. So Hans Christian Andersen wrote The Ugly Duckling and The Little Mermaid, and that's him in the statue, actually reading The Ugly Duckling to that cute little duckling in the statue. He's got some pretty daffodils behind him, some more of those beautiful white blooms behind him. So, a really fun part of the park. Actually, that area right where Hans Christian Andersen was, in the summertime on Saturdays, they have storytelling hour. Yes, technically it's for children. I am not a child and don't have children, but I have definitely gone myself, and I think it's pretty fun. So it's, I think every Saturday from June to September that they do that. More gorgeous blooms all up and down this section. So pretty. All right. I think we're gonna head over towards Bethesda Terrace to see just a little bit more. But I'm so excited I could come out and do this walk today, because seeing all of this and seeing Central Park in bloom just makes me so happy and so excited about summer. Oh, that's so pretty. All right, I think I'm good to go. Always look both ways, by the way, if you're walking and crossing Central Park Drive. Some people get going very quickly on their bicycles and they don't always stop for you. So over here, you can actually see the boats all lined up. They're getting ready, looks like, to open up for the season So if you come to Central Park anytime in the spring, really all the way through, I think, the fall, you can rent these boats here in Central Park, a rowboat. It's only $15. You can put up to 4 people in a boat, and that gets you an hour. If you don't think an hour sounds like long enough, talk to me after you've rowed one of these for an hour. Your arms will be tired. You'll be done. I know it doesn't look like there's a lot of space to row around here because this part of the lake is really tiny, but actually it opens way up as you go ahead and go to the west. So there's plenty of space for you to row. Oh, more beautiful blossoms. More of the white blossoms. We've got some cherry blossoms. There's the pink ones. I love those. I know people always think Washington, D.C. when they think cherry blossoms, but we have some too. Hopefully I'm going to be able to walk across Bethesda Terrace because it looks like they are filming something here. That's actually not altogether unusual. Bethesda Terrace is probably one of the most recognizable spots in Central Park because it is in so many TV shows and movies and things like that. So I might have to stealth through here and stay pretty quiet so they don't kick me out. Oh, they are filming a period piece because those are people in like 1890s attire. All right, I'm gonna try to get through here.
If you go on the fountain, I'm sure they'll stop filming you.
Hey, I just wanted to get across to Bow Bridge.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thanks.
You know
what? Right. Oh, this is wild. I'm trying to stay very quiet so they don't take things away from me and kick me out. Whoop. Pretending my camera's not on. All right. Just trying to go across the bridge.
I need to do some background.
Okay, so that was crazy. I don't know if you've ever walked through New York City and felt like you were, went through a time machine, but that was pretty crazy. So they are filming something, clearly. I will try to find out what when I get home and see if I can add a note to this video or something after the fact. Something that looks like it's set in the late 1800s or early 1900s. Something that involves Bethesda Terrace, clearly. But I'm glad I got to get through there without them yelling at me to turn off my camera because that was probably in violation of about a million things. But it was kind of a cool glimpse. We're gonna finish up just here in a minute. I just wanted to get you over to the kind of more open part of the lake. More beautiful daffodils, little blue ones. We have some pretty yellow flowers on this tree over here. Those are beautiful, and it looks like more of those up ahead. We're getting over here towards Cherry Hill, which is what I wanted to show you at the end. So this beautiful little bridge over here with the planters, that's Bow Bridge. That's how I got across the film set, was telling them I wanted to go see Bow Bridge, which is a really popular spot for tourists to go take pictures. It's actually the longest bridge in Central Park. It's cast iron bridge, very Victorian style. So I mean, very, very right for the time period that Central Park was being built. Get a beautiful look here at the Central Park West skyline. And this is all the lake too. So when I told you that, it did open up a little bit and you had some room to really row, this is where you can do it. This is all continuous. So you can see people out there on the boats. The water's very still. If you are nervous or something about that makes you nervous, please know the lake, like everything else in Central Park, is man-made. It is not very deep. If you were to fall in, you would be okay. All right, so here's Cherry Hill over here. These beautiful blossoms coming up. These cherry blossoms are, they have a pinky white color, and oh my gosh, they are just perfect right now. So beautiful. It's a short window of time to see these, so I'm glad that we got the perfect day for it. Those are amazing. I see a lot of people here taking pictures of the cherry blossoms. All right. So this was the last thing I wanted to show you here on our beautiful springtime walk in Central Park. We'll finish here just with one last look around Cherry Hill. So glad you got to come with me and enjoy the beginning of spring, the end of a long winter. And we're looking forward to the beautiful summer months to come. There are a lot more places we can walk around together, so check out some of the other options that we have. We can head around more of Central Park, around Midtown, across the Brooklyn Bridge, and definitely hit subscribe if you haven't already. Ring that bell so you get notifications every time we release new content, and I hope we get to walk together again soon. Bye.